just keep it that way for a bit. I don't know when it's going to get us. So, all right, we're live.
All right, very good. So welcome everyone on TikTok. If you could please let me know if you can hear me and see me all right. We want to make sure our technology is on point before we get started here, especially with Mercury in retrograde.
And Mercury,
God help us.
Mercury being your planet, so.
Yes, and me being ruled by Mercury. So also, everyone on YouTube, if you could please give us a thumbs up, let us know if you can hear and see us all right. That would be helpful. We are going to just give this a minute for a few people to tune in. And while we do that, I want to invite you guys to join us after. We'll be tuning out here, and at 10 p.m. we'll be doing our midweek prayer and healing service. So our normal services are Sunday. We've moved to 9 p.m. for summer hours, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Roots Revival Interfaith. But in the middle of the week, we try to do an extra healing and prayer service for anyone who needs it. And tonight we are focusing on our Indigenous brothers and sisters who are dealing with a lot of open wounds connected to the children that were found. And we are taking everyone's prayer and healing requests. So this is open to everybody, but we will be focusing some time on them. So please do participate, whether you need it or you just would like to be a support. Okay, again, that's tonight at 10 p.m. when we're done here with this mini class. We got a thumbs up here from YouTube. We got a thumbs up here on TikTok as well. Okay, so our volume and visuals are working here. All right, very good. So welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a Taino Airwalk, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where I train people internationally, online, and everything, ranging from psychic mediumship development to tarot, astrology, numerology, Reiki, empathic awareness, paranormal, meditation, you name it, we do it. Okay, children as well as adults. So we hope to see you here for classes. What you've caught tonight is one of my free mini classes I do here on TikTok and on YouTube at Ask Ivy. This is called the Quarantine Series. I started doing this when the pandemic hit. We now have quite an accumulation of classes. So if this is your first time here, go to YouTube at Ask Ivy and hit the playlist button to see all the free mini classes that we've put out. Special announcement with that, because the quarantine is coming to an end, as are these. So this is sort of a grand finale on the live version of the classes that I've been doing. However, because of the interest, we are going to continue. So I've decided what I'm doing is cutting out the lives, but I will be posting a class, as I have been, one per week. So if you guys are not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, again, that's at Ask Ivy, for those of you tuning in through TikTok, you're going to want to subscribe and hit that bell to get an alert every time one of the mini classes goes up. And you guys will still be able to get your questions answered and to interact. You'll just be using the comment section from here on out. So that's exciting. We do appreciate donations. And if you guys would like to become a member here on YouTube, you can hit the join button to see all the different tiers. And you'll get additional curriculum, behind the scenes extras, your monthly horoscope, direct spirit messages, all kinds of things. So check that out. Today, we have Christina Del Rey, our astrologer here from the Academy. Also, Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer through our Roots Revival Church. How are you, Christina?
Awesome. Great to be here.
Wonderful. And if you guys could just let us know that you can hear her okay. Christina, say your alphabet.
Say the planets.
Or say the planets, or talk about Pluto.
That's not long.
Every good boy, right? That's music.
Very
Well,
ego.
you can tell Mercury's retrograde for sure.
Okay, keep going.
My So I was thinking of doing a video on the Uranus Saturn, just an FYI, square, and just kind of saying where it falls in the chart for everyone, because we have our second hit this month. So that should be very interesting.
Very interesting.
Really going to affect everybody. Plus, we're in the middle of eclipse season. So,
okay, everyone says they can hear her. So,
awesome.
Yeah, YouTube's going to be fine. The only issue may be TikTok.
Are we good? All right. So, hopefully on TikTok, is there anything else we could really do to increase it? Okay. All right, guys. So, if you are having any trouble hearing Christina on TikTok, switch over to my YouTube at Ask Ivy. All right. So, today, we are still taking your questions, like always. My adorable producer over here, Paulie. How are you, Paul?
I am doing great, thanks. How are you?
Good. Paul will be taking your questions and comments here in the feed as we go. If it doesn't fit with the curriculum that we're talking about, we'll just postpone it till the end. So questions for either one of us, feel free to start posting. And we do try to get to everybody. Today is Shadow Work Part 2. If you missed Shadow Work Part 1, go through the playlist and rewatch. In Shadow Work Part 1, we discussed indicators, triggers, signs that it's time for you to do shadow work, and we broke down what you can do about it, gave you some tools for success to move forward. Today in Shadow Work Part 2, we're talking about secrets, karma, and contracts. Okay, in particular, we'll be looking at planetary movements and things that may sneak up on you. I want to really help everyone to understand here today that a lot of times we don't do the shadow work because we don't know that we need to. We don't even often understand that there's pain there, or we've been told not to focus on it, that healing in that particular area doesn't necessarily need to be done, or that it's normal. When things get normalized, we will often carry the pain and never do the work because it's socially acceptable. Okay, so one of the things I want to say before we start talking here with Christina is that you can't get to true shadow work while being indoctrinated into an often mentally ill, Christian, male-dominated, patriarchal, colonized, for-profit medical system society like we live in. So let's not forget that so many of the burdens that we carry and the trauma that we have been normalized through the indoctrination of that system. Okay, and you're born into it. So be mindful. Also, I just want to say your doctors and therapists aren't going to help you to confront a lot of the issues associated with the patriarchy or colonization, because that would cost them in the system. They are able to benefit from keeping the system this way. So unless you have some really out of the box thinkers helping you, doctors and therapists, you're pretty much trapped, and they aren't going to rebel against the system, bite the hand that feeds them. So we all need to be on our own journey of exploration. And I think that the biggest secret and where the most karma is hiding right there in the patriarchal system, the colonization, and the damage that it has done. So as individuals, I would really recommend that you guys look deep at how you've been programmed and see if you have shadow work that needs to be done in those areas. No doubt, especially with generational trauma that needs to occur, and it's going to be complicated finding people who will help you with that. Don't ever forget that your ancestors are working with you all the time, that spirit, your guides are always there, that the universe is supporting you in going high and getting out of a low system. Okay, so sometimes it's best to just tune everything else out and tune in this way. That will get you there if nothing else will. All right. We do also have a free mini class on healing generational trauma. So you guys may want to check that one out. Paul, if you could put that in the comments. All right, so Christina Del Rey, our astrologer. I know that we had quite a few topics we wanted to touch on here today with secrets, karma, contracts. And if you just want to go ahead and get the ball rolling on maybe whatever you see happening right now planetarily, or whatever you think is the most important for them to know, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I feel like what you just said, and I chuckle a little bit because I know your chart, so it's like exactly what you should be saying. But everybody is experiencing this Saturn Uranus square, and Saturn is the planet of karma. So Uranus is the planet of breaking free. So Saturn is what we've built, and Uranus is breaking it free. It's pushing us to break it free. So that think out of the box, or don't follow those societal norms that are no longer serving us. Those are that's what we are going through as a population, as everybody's going through that, and then as a whole. And then it also goes down into our individual lives as well. So with Saturn is all about like a slow and steady, and Uranus is quick and fast and wants to break free. So these planets are like opposite, and they're coming together, and they're saying, look, you have to break out. So, the patriarchal system, women coming into power, all those things, like LGBTQ and Black Lives Matters and everything like coming up now, like that is really disturbing people because it disturbs what we've built. And that what we built needs to be shattered. So karma is on a collective level and also an individual level, and you do have karma from this life as well as karma contracts from other lives. And I know you and I talk a lot about it. We don't have as much control as we think we do. We do have some, we have free will, but a lot of times we do not have control over what life presents to us, especially early in life. So, and that's where, karma comes in, and that's where the learning comes in. And then if you become conscious, hopefully, you can work on the shadow work, and then you can live a happier life, through being conscious, through being, through meditation. But everybody has a shadow side. And when we look at shadow work, we look at traumas, bad habits, secrets that we keep. They could be really, unspeakable traumas. They could just be things that you're ashamed of. It could be something that happened to you. There's so many things, but there are planetary triggers that will come up and kind of push this, So last year as a collective, we had Pluto Saturn, right? So Pluto, death and rebirth, and Saturn, what we built. So we're still this is still happening. This is what you're talking about. But on an individual level, we take a look at a few things. We look at where Saturn is. We look at where Pluto is. We look at where your south node is, because that's, past lives. We look at the ruler. We look at your fourth house ruler, which would talk to ancestors as well. So, all of these, when you were born, your planets are all in that contract, that was your soul DNA. And somehow that has to be played out. And, like I said, we have some control, but honestly, we have very little. You can really only control yourself and learn to do that.
How you react.
Yeah. And it's difficult, right? I mean, we're not, if you have a strong Mars, or, you could have a temper, or, these are things that previously Saturn, what we built, kind of were swept under the rug, or, like people didn't look at it, like look at, the police system, right? We just kind of swept that under the rug. Well, now like Uranus is saying, no, it's got to come out, so
So I just want to ask you about that one more time. Okay, so so it's the Pluto Saturn happened last year, and so that was the beginning of the purging,
and the
sort of like
pandemic and all
exposing of all of our dysfunction internationally in the systems,
showing us that we needed to rebuild. There was no choice.
Okay, that we need to rebuild.
But you had the people, the Saturn people would hang on and say, no, it has to be this way, traditional. You know, Saturn's very tradition, and Uranus just wants brand new. And, you know, so it's the struggle against the two. So in your life, if you're thinking about, you know, where are you trying to hang on and where are you trying to break free? Like there's something going on in everybody's life where they're having that dynamic, where they're being sort of pushed to make the change. Because as humans, we never want to make the change. We don't like change. And
how long is this going on for?
This is all year. The last hit of this is December 24th. So you'll be, you know, like something will be significantly changed in your life by the 24th of December. Because it's going to push you out of what you've built. It's going to be for everybody, you know. And if you have personal planets involved, like I do, it's going to be way more intense. You know, it's just going to be way more intense. And you know, if you're a fixed sign, if you're a Leo, you know, if you're Scorpio, Aries, it's kind of crazy right now. Taurus, you know. But Aquarius is feeling it as well. So anyway, the one thing about not having control, you know, not having a ton of control is, you know, like, so you have these traumas and you push them down, right? Because you can't walk around with your trauma on you all the time, right? So you're like, you kind of push them down. And something will happen in your day, and it might trigger a reaction from you, like maybe an overreaction, like you know, you really overreact because it triggered something within you. Well, that means that your energy flow is being blocked, and until you process that trauma and feel it all the way through, take whatever responsibility you need to, or you know, forgive whoever you need to forgive, that energy is just not going to flow, and you're not going to be at peace. You'll always be arranging your surroundings to not touch, you know, your wounds, your shadows.
Right.
So until you pull those out and look at them and do the work and get past it, you know, integrate it, you're not going to live a peaceful, happy life. And that's where, you know, the meditation and all that stuff comes in. But, you know, when Pluto comes and makes an angle to one of your, you know, it makes a transit to either an angle or a planet, it's going to put all your shadow up so that you can see it now. Like it brings it to the surface. So this is like, you know, when you were having like the hardest time in your life, it might have been a Pluto transit, you know, you had a Pluto transit, and, you know, this is one of the things. Yeah. It's intense. It's, it can be like, you know, fixated. It can be, there's so much that can go into a Pluto transit, and it forces you to look at that shadow, you know, it forces you, and it makes you, and I know that we've talked about this before, it makes you, you know, descend into hell so that you can come
literally,
back out.
it's right. It's like that is what I think a lot of people are experiencing when they talk about the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of confusion about what the dark night of the soul actually is. And during that Pluto transit, it's like all your skeletons in the closet, or, you know, when I went through mine, it was stuff that had been brewing for many, many years, like even 20 years, that I knew would eventually come to a head. It's like all your worst fears, but you can't stop it. It's like a runaway train. It's a freight train, and it is going to peak at some point, and it's going to have to be dealt with. And they aren't necessarily things that you could have even fixed or prevented.
No, because it's karmic.
More complicated
Yeah.
than that.
It is. And, you know, you like I said, you have very little control, especially with Pluto, which is obsession. But, you know, Pluto is really, you know, a lot of things can come up: betrayal, violence, rape, power struggles, you know, sexual abuse, you know, and shame, tragedy, you know, like, because Pluto is death and rebirth. So if it's like touching your sun, for instance, you know, you're going to be another person by the time you're done with that. You're going to die, you know, a metaphorical death, and then you're going to have rebirth. So it just matters what planet it's touching, you know, and you will become new in that area. But first, it's a very painful experience, you know. Something very painful happens, and it's not in your control. It's, you know, you can control how you react to a point, but even, you know, if you're not, especially if you're not conscious, it will take control of you, and you really don't want that.
Yeah.
The behaviors also too, like, we will attract people in our lives during a Pluto transit that reflect to us our shadow, which is so interesting. You know, so if you are, you know, if you're, I don't know, if you have a lot of fears, you're going to attract people with a lot of fears. Or if you're, you know, like, they're very low vibrational, behaving people.
I noticed that when I went through mine, I attracted a lot of people, including like students at the academy, or just people who wanted to be my bestie out of the blue, people who wanted to talk to me on social media. Like, everything was activated in a kind of creepy way, where I felt like they were, there was almost like a stalker energy, and they were very fear-based individuals, like really ego-centric. And I thought, these aren't even people I'm used to having around like this. Right. Why am I attracting this? Why am I attracting this? But yeah, it's going through that darkness, that Pluto transit yourself. You just sort of are like a magnet.
And you can fall so easily to the bad behaviors that come up too. Like, they can suck you in, especially if you're not conscious. So you have to really look and say, okay, I'm really not, like, everybody is not, like, you know, I think before a Pluto transit, you might think, well, I would never do this, or I would never do that. And then Pluto comes and you're like, whoa, I'm really tempted to do that. And now I kind of see why that person does that. And then we have to kind of say to ourselves, is that who I want to be? You know what I mean? So, and temptation is huge with Pluto. There's so much temptation. And with the soul, like, when you resist temptation, that strengthens you. You know, like, that's a very difficult thing to do. But when you see your shadow and you're not, like, you know, and I mean, it's fighting the dark. It's like your mini class, you know, fighting the dark. You have to fight those things. But could you get sucked in? Oh yeah, you sure
Well,
could.
and there's also a very high suicide rate, is there not?
Absolutely, yeah. And
so it's not just getting sucked into, you know, maybe start rationalizing how someone could murder their spouse, you know, or like how someone could, you know, create some kind of criminal activity.
Absolutely.
But it's not even just that. It's also getting so sucked into that darkness, that shadow, that a lot of people take their own lives. And it's so important in this particular situation how dark it gets, that we understand that there is an end point. Even the Pluto transit will eventually come to an end. And all of those influences, that feeling like you're getting ran over by, you know, it's almost like you're roadkill, you know, again and again and again. It only lasts for as long as the planet is passing through. And then, you know, the sun comes out and things get easier, and the healing process can really start to take place. It's so important we remember that we understand that as a truth. Astrology is so important that way.
And I think that's really where detachment comes in. You know, and I know that we plan on talking about detachment. And
Sunday at church is the power of detachment. Yep, this Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern here. Good.
Because being a person who went through a Pluto transit, I was able to see myself fall into wanting to sort of behave in a way that I never would, like morally,
Right.
but being able to step back and say, okay, I see I have unrational thoughts right now. My irrational thoughts, I can't control that. All I can do is not act upon those thoughts. You know what I mean? So the healthy detachment, and only, I really think, like, only when you know that you're a soul
Yes.
in a human body with a mind, and the mind is not the soul because you're not your thoughts. I think that that is where healthy detachment comes in, and we'll talk more about that in the church service, but it really is key to these Pluto transits because you will be all consumed.
Yes.
And you may fall really hard if you are not conscious. You know, I mean, this can be like, ruining of your reputation, or, or completely losing your job, or completely, you know what I mean? And maybe that has to happen, but if you're learning from it as you go, like you just have to know, I got to go through hell, and then I come out, and I come out better for it.
And I think a lot of it too is that, people will turn toward escapist or avoidant tendencies. Like we said earlier, trying to always dodge the bullet of needing to do your shadow work, is not an option when these planets hit. And if you turn toward alcoholism, or, drug use, or porn addiction, or I don't care what, anything, video games, anything can suck you in. And then you just get so tied up in that, and it's like it feels like a tenfold karmic hit of negativity. You have to get control,
and we are all control freaks, but we have to, that's where detachment comes in too, because we have to realize we are only in control of so much, and really we can't control anybody else. We can only really control ourselves.
Well, you can control you. Yeah.
And that's not authentic power, you know what I mean, unless we're controlling ourselves. And it's when you have that healthy detachment, you kind of see that, and you can see that there's an ending coming. And unfortunately, with Pluto transits, they are long, like 2 years maybe. And if you have a whole conglomerate of planets, like a stellium or something, and it hits each one, you kind of feel like you're getting punched, and then when you get back up, you get punched again, but if you are conscious and know that there's a transformation going on, it is a lot easier. But when you talk about dark night of the soul, you're talking about your lowest point imaginable. So I do want to discuss like some ways to deal with it. Let's see. So think about Pluto as like alchemy, turning lead into gold. It's the phoenix rising. So shadow work, if you are brave enough to face it, and that's the thing, like Pluto's going to make you brave, Saturn will make you brave because you're not going to have a choice. Saturn is fear, but Uranus in the sky right now is like forcing you to not be fearful anymore. You can lock yourself in a house. I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and we know these people who actually like really sort of lock themselves in the house because they're afraid to leave. Like, they've done this for years, and they think they're safe there, and the universe keeps trying to push them out, and their life just becomes like miserable, and it's just you can't control that. You know what I mean? You can sit in your house, but it's not going to make you a happy person. It's not going to make you safe. It's not going to make you all these things. So you kind of have to do what like we always say with Mars is our will. So it's how we assert our will. So once we get our Mars under control, then, we can start to do our best and surrender the rest, because we don't have complete control. We do what we can, and we try to do it as high vibrational as possible. And then we have to surrender it. And I was looking at somebody's chart, and some of the things I've noticed when I've gone through these charts of people who are in the middle of a Pluto transit and have a lot of shadow work to do, I've noticed that like their karma up until this point really matters too. So, let's say, you're having a Pluto transit and you were kind of a jerk, all your life. then that's going to really affect how Pluto, how it plays out. If you were high vibrational, it's not that it's going to be great. It's never great, but you know what I mean. You'll still feel that you're doing the right thing, or you'll be able to deal with it better. So whereas if you're not high vibrational going in, it's almost like you'll just get sucked in to the shadow and possibly become your shadow and never leave that shadow. I mean, drug addicts and alcoholics, and they don't see a way out. Suicide, those kind of things. So you don't want to get sucked in. You want to approach it from the highest vibration possible. And when you learn about meditation and you learn about detachment, you're empowering yourself. You're giving yourself the courage to face things. And we will talk more about that in the
It really is survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of, survival, the fittest are those that learn to use alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to what their ego is supposed to be teaching them. Understanding free will and going high versus low. That's who survives. That's who thrives.
Yeah.
And this is why, yes, we always have karma that we're working on, because the human experience is about lessons and growth. And we always have past life stuff that still needs to be dealt with. But if we really want to evolve into the future and eventually maybe reach a point where we don't have to reincarnate into this over and over and over again, we have to master this. And it really is interesting to watch planetary hits and how it really can wipe a bunch of people out. It's almost a guarantee. The second it's going to hit, you could just, you're waiting and you're watching and you're like, there they go, down they go, because they were not prepared with these tools. They mocked these tools. They despised these tools. And this is
unconscious, very unconscious.
Totally unaware. Yep.
Yeah. And it's so when you come through a Pluto transit and you learn nothing, you become bitter and you become, one of those very negative people that nobody wants to be around. And, you're blaming everybody, or you could walk around mindless and only superficial, only concerned with the superficial. And Pluto is really meant to make you go deep. Look as deep as you possibly can. Pluto's like the bones, it's like you go as deep as the bones. Because if you think about it, karma is in our cells, it's in our bones, it's in there, the ancestors, all of that stuff, it's all in there. So, and we have to become better. And really the only way to do that is to detach a bit, learn from it, be as high vibrational as you can, and, alchemy.
Right. And it's so where we are in our society right now, too, not just here in America, but everywhere. I mean, look what's happening with, Canada and the indigenous children that were just found. It's like people want to say, well, I'm not a colonizer. Well, that's my ancestors' problem. Well, that was my great grandfather. Well, whatever. It's not our problem. We need to get on track today. It's still today. This is all the same day.
Yeah.
And we're still suffering the consequences of those horrific choices. And, that's how we heal, is by facing it once and for all. And you can see that split and that divide in the people right there. And it's really in our face right now. Yeah.
Well, it's really fear-based because, they're fearful. What if the others get in charge? You know what I mean? What if we lose our power? And that stuff is in your DNA, whether you like it or not. It's in your soul DNA and it's in your body DNA. You can try to deny it, but no, it's there. It's going to catch up with you. I mean, the spirit guides and the ancestors, they're around, you're not separate. Everybody, people who are very fear-based think they are separate. We are not separate. We are when you do something bad to somebody, that affects everybody. That energy goes out. So it's people don't get that, unfortunately. People who are unconscious will, they don't get it. We don't want to dismiss Pluto as like bad luck or random chaos, because we want to look at it as a lesson, and it might be a really horrible, awful lesson, but a lesson nonetheless that, you know, for some reason your soul had to go through. We can say, you know, and sometimes people come through and they're like, oh, it didn't bother me. It's fine, you know, and not that's, you know, that's fear-based too. It's not facing and learning from, you know, because you're too afraid. And, you know, you need, this shadow work is all about bravery. You know, you have to be brave. Like, you have to own your power. You know, you have to own your Mars sign. You have to really be willing, and it's not easy, because to run away is so much easier. This requires you stepping up, and that's why Uranus is in the mix right now, because Uranus is saying you just gotta do it. You gotta get out of your old habit.
There's a lot of talk right now too about, you know, screw forgiveness, forget it, it's okay, you know, it's okay, it's okay to stay angry or hate them for what they did to you, and, you know, this and that, I'm going to heal anyways. And it's like, okay, there's some validity in understanding and acknowledging that the pain they caused is very real, and that they aren't deserving of necessarily getting off the hook. That's fine, that's valid. But this is very dangerous talk, and I'm seeing it more and more frequently. We do need to understand that forgiveness, alchemy, using these opportunities of pain to do the shadow work and convert the negativity into positivity is our job. It should not be dismissed, and it doesn't have anything to do with the person who did you harm or the situation that occurred. It has to do with you taking your power back and saying, I'm not going to allow it to continuously hold me down. I'm going to go high, and I'm going to use it for something. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to heal from it. I'm going to become empowered from it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go out and heal others with it. I'm going to use it. That's really what forgiveness is.
Well, once you do the shadow work and you do the forgiveness can come at the end. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, forgiveness is usually the last step in the shadow work.
Yeah.
Like you know, looking at it and getting mad and getting angry and really feeling it. That stuff comes first. You know, you can leave forgiveness for the end, but you got to get to that point, because it won't make you light otherwise. You're going to be heavy. And if you have all these things pushed down, your energy is not going to be able to flow, and you're not going to be light. And then you can't enjoy life at all. So it's very, 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 you know, it's easier said than done. I'm not going to pretend like I can.
Yes, but also, you know, once you do it and you start to see that flow is back in effect, manifestation kicks in, law of attraction kicks in. You can receive your blessings from the universe. If, you know, you guys are listening to this and you're like, wow, you know, I do have stagnancy. Maybe it's just a trickle effect. You know, you feel like you're hustling for everything. There just isn't a flow in your prosperity in any way. It could be due to the lack of forgiveness, but you get that out of the way and your energy flows. And especially during transits and difficult work with shadow, like we're talking about, you need those benefits. You deserve those benefits. You know, help yourself, really.
Yeah. And you know, maybe it's yourself that you have to forget too. You know, maybe you did something that you have to forgive, and that's hard too, you know. But they said that kind of comes at the end of the process. But if you don't, you know, you enter into anger, depression, all these things, and there's just no way around it. You have to go through it. So that is really what shadow work is. And you might not even know, like what you were saying, you might not even know that something still bothers you. And then one day it comes up and you're like, oh, I got to look at this and release it. You know, if I don't release this, you know, this is stopping my flow. This is stopping me from living my best life. And that's really what it is. And also too, if you keep all those things inside you, you can become a victimizer too. You know, you can, you don't mean it. You know, think about like, I don't know, I think about like parents, you know, like they don't, many times, you know, they abuse because they've been abused, but they haven't dealt with the abuse that they got. So they're abusing their own children. So you can become the abuser too. And you don't you don't want to repeat that. That just creates more, bad karma. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, if you a crisis can really turn into something gold.
Yeah.
And Pluto, and there's going to be crisis in your life. You can't avoid it.
Right.
You just can't. It sucks. Like, you can sit there and say, yeah, this really sucks, but you can't change it. You know what I mean? That accepting what has happened is a really important thing, because if we don't have acceptance, we're fighting something that already happened. And if you're using all your energy to fight something that already happened, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, then, I mean, how are you supposed to live a good life? I mean, looking at that ugly thing.
It's really that acceptance of what life is, that this isn't supposed to be good times, noodle salads, rainbows and butterflies all the time. It's really accepting and being willing to, get comfortable, being uncomfortable, to acknowledge what the human experience here on Earth is all about. And I think that this is also, that avoidance of it is also the root of this obsession with manifestation that we've seen, and the law of attraction in the last few years. I mean, that's just another addiction, or the addiction that we're seeing more and more with spiritualism, all these people, especially since the awakening, 2019, 2020, more and more people coming and becoming obsessed with spirituality. And it's like, that's all avoidance too. It's like, you can't get there. You can't get to that heightened place. You can't really be woke until you're willing to do the shadow work. You can't cherry pick this.
Yeah, you can't stay stuck. No. And you have to keep moving to the next level, and you have to really let some things go. It's difficult to let things go, but you have to, like, open up your energy centers so that things can flow, so that you can, otherwise you walk around and it's like you're mindless. You don't know what's going on, and your energy's consumed. Might be in the lower chakra because you're in survival mode all the time. And then what comes out is like health issues or mental health issues.
Health. It's like the zombie apocalypse. It really is. It's the Hopi prophecy. It's that supposed like the end times, but it's the end of many individuals, and the death of what was structured.
And is that helping anybody? Are you helping yourself? Is that energy well spent?
Right.
You got to think about it. You got to think about where you're putting your energy. It's like, it's like, wherever you put your attention is where the energy is going to flow. So if you're putting your attention on survival all the time, or, making sure, like, and I think that and this is like a whole nother aspect of it too, but I think we all perpetuate it without even knowing it. Like, we kind of tiptoe around each other. Like, we're like, oh, don't talk about that in front of him. Right. Or, oh, those things really bother him. You know what I mean? And we're kind of perpetuating that don't deal with it, just avoid it kind of mentality. And we need to be like, no, you need to look at that. You know what I mean? Like, confront that. And that needs to be like a habit right from from when they're little. And I know as a teacher, and many teachers out there will know what I'm talking about, we're always like, oh, we gotta fix the environment for the kid, and yes, like, we have to get our teaching done. So yes, we do have to do that. But if that becomes like the parent too, and then that, you know what I mean? Like, that's not real society, real work world. You gotta go out there, and it's life. You know what I mean? Life's gonna happen. We can't arrange life so that you're not bothered by it.
I think it's so funny listening to like Americans, who are like, how are you? I'm great. How are you? And like, no one's actually talking. They find it rude to be in another society where people are like real.
Yes.
That's outrageous. Like, there's something wrong with those people. Like, that's normal. That's healthy. And we look like psychos,
And the only way we're gonna like have deep insights and empathy, is from the suffering that we've had. I mean, think about it. If we had a great life, we wouldn't even be here right now. if everything was all rainbows and unicorns, we would be like, you know, into the superficial stuff. We wouldn't be here digging deep into our wounds and our past and feeling empathy and praying for Indigenous people or praying for those people. You know, we would just not care, you know, so they do serve a purpose.
Yeah. I know we have questions coming in. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Start with those?
This one is for me.
Okay.
Does everybody get a Pluto transit in their lifetime, or is that just a select few?
Well, like not everybody will get the same Pluto transit because it's so slow moving, but most likely you'll get it to hit something personal that it will affect you. So yes, probably if you've had a really horrible time in your life that you can remember, like, oh, that year was terrible. Sorry. Or that 2 years was terrible. Like that was probably a Pluto transit.
Good.
Crystal had said that this gives her chills. Said she'd sent something to her class message and still probably going to experience more of these moments until she makes the right choices. It makes so much sense. Amazing information. You guys are doing well there. And Danny Johnson said, I think I remember Christina saying that our karma has reset recently. We try to vibe high right now. Will we benefit from good karma later?
You know what? Oh my gosh, it's like she's reading my mind. Like I had just thought of this earlier. I swear, like Danny and I have like this Leo thing or something. So you know, if you are vibing higher, this is one thing I wanted to say, because meditation does transmute karma. It's meditation and or prayer. And I don't mean the prayer where like you're just kind of talking. I mean prayer where you're really like sitting in the spirit and you're really like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like almost channeling spirit. I don't know if you would call that prayer though. I don't know. But whatever prayer is to you, but you are in the light of God, that actually helps your karma. So that coupled with the high vibration, and I completely forgot, so thank you for reminding me to say that, Danny. Meditation coupled with, you know, with the high vibration is going to help your karma significantly. So, you know, I mean, you can't get rid of everything bad that happens to you, and it's life, it's the human experience. But I think that for me, it's all about how I feel about myself, you know, at the end of the day. And did I do the right thing? You know what I mean? Like, so I feel better when I'm closer to God and vibing as high as I possibly can. And then I know, you know, I did all I could. And everything that was in my control, I'm able to do.
Good. Love it. We have another one. Okay. So I don't know if you had anything in closing that you wanted to recommend or say to everybody to watch out for as they go out there to work on this.
So right now I kind of challenge you to see where you're supposed to break free in your life from structures that you built, and you probably spent a lot of good time building those structures. And now you have to face your fears or face your you know, your shadow or something that doesn't work for you anymore. So how are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to go about being brave and facing your fears? That's, I think, is like as you know, because Saturn is involved, so it's karmic, it's collective, and there is shadow in something that you've built because it no longer serves you. So if you do, you know, if you're able, you know, you can always get an astrologer like me or a psychic medium to help you figure that out. But you probably know what it is. You probably don't need me to tell you. And just realize you have to deal with things as they come. You can't run, because it makes you a stronger and wiser person. If you are stagnant, that is just going to really, your life is going to go downhill when you're stagnant, when you're not going up levels. You're actually going to go down levels.
There's no such thing as staying still.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I know that I was definitely in a rut, you know what I mean? And I didn't really know how to get out of it either, you know what I mean? And like the planets forced me. I had no choice. Well, other than, you know, Ivy, she's always forcing me. She's like my, you know, get out there. I was just telling somebody the other day. She was like, oh, no. I was like, Ivy was like, I was like, oh, I'm so nervous. And she'd be like, no, you're doing it. So yeah,
I think that's so important too, to have people around you who are sincere and really care about you and your growth. They're not just going to sugarcoat everything or talk trash behind your back. You know, they surround yourself with people who grow, have that mentality, and
push you out of your comfort zone. I still remember the first psychic fair I had. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And
you're doing it.
Doing so good. And like, not, you know, but not acknowledging it. We need each other, you know, for that. And it's hard. It's hard when you're embedded in a system, a family system, a group system, you know, or a religion, whatever, where that's just not happening. And so I think it's great. I think this is one of the great things about technology and social media, that we're finding our people, you know, and like this, like what we're doing right now. You know, I think if I were to say one last thing on this topic, it is to be bold enough to be honest about how you've been programmed and what baggage has been handed down to you from your family, and how you have maybe denied it, you know, and then to start doing that work and do exactly this. Surround yourself with people who get it. And
that's right. And the higher you vibe, the more those people are going to come in, whether it be through social media or whether it be through your job or whatever. But, you know, break the cycle. Don't stay in that cycle, because you don't want to perpetuate that.
Let it end with you. And don't see yourself as being as individual as you are. See yourself as being part of the whole. You know, the better you do, the better we all do. We need to feed the higher vibration in the universe.
And you can heal your ancestral karma too. You know, you can, you know, do what your ancestors couldn't, you know, what they didn't know.
That's right. Well, thank you, Christina. I absolutely adore having you on. We always have these great topics, and I look forward to the next one. We will be back together with Danny Johnson, who was in the comment section, Paul Casey Healing Arts, for our Sunday service, Roots Revival Interfaith, at 9 p.m., our new summer hours Eastern, here on TikTok and on YouTube at Ask Ivy. And this week at church, we are talking about the power of detachment, which is sort of a play off of this. If you guys missed Shadow Work Part 1, go here on YouTube in my playlist to check that out. Okay. And I would always recommend getting a chart with Christina. I trust her. She is thorough. She is detailed. It is phenomenal and life-changing in the best ways. I think that what Christina offers in her readings that's different from a lot of other chart readings is the ability to know what's coming up, how long it's going to be there, and to really understand how to go high instead of low during your transitions. And whether it be like a love synergy chart with someone else, we need to be honest there too, or it be a work chart, or it be about your kids, or it be about something like this. You know, where is shadow work hitting you in your chart? We need to know these things. This is wisdom. This is living at your best, you know?
Yeah, and we have to heal. You know, we have to heal ourselves. It's our responsibility to heal ourselves, nobody else. So, you know, you have to take control and heal yourself of your shit, you know, your shadows.
of your shit, of your shadow. Is what I heard. That's so true. Yeah, it's on you. It's on us. That's it. No one's coming to rescue you, right?
Right.
So yes, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Paul, and to everyone who tuned in, for any donations that came in. Again, you guys, please give this video a thumbs up, and share, subscribe. If you want to become a member, hit that join button. We're going to log off, and then we're going to log right back on for our midweek prayer and healing service here at 10 p.m., focusing on our Indigenous brothers and sisters this week, but also any prayer and healing requests you may have. So we'll see you back here in a couple minutes. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Christina.